Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you are listening to this podcast, welcome. My name is Todd Rhoades. I'm one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. And today we are talking on the Healthy Church Staff podcast about a topic that's close to the heart of every pastor and ministry leader. And it's something that you have to do quite often. It may not be the most enjoyable thing that you do, but it's something that is incredibly important and incredibly impactful, and that is leading people in your church through loss. Grief is a universal experience, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's the loss of a job or a relationship or the ending of a dream. We've all felt the sting of sorrow at some point in our lives, and as church leaders, one of the things we're called to do regularly, on a regular basis, is to walk alongside those in our church through these really difficult seasons and to try and offer some comfort and some guidance and some hope. And can we be honest? Some of us are really good at this. Stepping into a really hard situation, providing comfort to a grieving family member is hard stuff, but some of us are wired to do that really well. And if we're being completely honest, some of us are not wired this way. It's something we can do, but we don't like to do. It's challenging, and it requires empathy and wisdom and deep understanding of the grieving process, and some of us are better at it than others, but it is part of the calling, and it demands that we sometimes confront our own mortality and kind of grapple with those big questions of life and death in our own life and our own families sometimes. So how can we effectively minister to those in their grief while also caring for our own emotional and spiritual well-being? Because dealing with people that are in grief is stressful, and it can cause some really down times in our own life. So here are some thoughts on how to minister to those in grief or those that are going through a really tough season. First of all, be present. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do as a church leader is to simply be there for those that are grieving. Offer a listening ear, offer a shoulder to cry on, a safe place to express their emotions, but just be there, be present. Sometimes being present doesn't even mean that you have to say anything. It's just being in the same room. It's giving that hug. It's providing a calming sense of presence. So that's the first thing, is just be present. It's very much appreciated by those that are going through a really hard time. Second of all, grief is messy and complex, and there's a lot of feelings that the people that are going through grief are dealing with, and sympathize with them, validate their feelings. There's no wrong or right way to grieve. You can try to offer platitudes or try to fix their pain. Don't do that. That's just not where they are and what they need right now. Instead, acknowledge their feelings and let them know it's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel sad and angry and confused. Offer support. Even in the midst of grief, simple tasks that can feel overwhelming. Offer to help with meals or childcare or errands or something else that might ease their burden. Churches traditionally have done a pretty good job at this, but I've also seen churches let people fall through the cracks at the most vulnerable and most needed time for that meal or that offer of childcare or an errand or just to step in and help. This is a really hard time for people, and any way that you or the church can step in and help is huge. Okay, so be present, validate some feelings, offer support. Number 4, share your own experience. Now, if it's appropriate, okay? So maybe you've gone through a similar loss, and I fully believe that many times God uses the losses in our own lives to help us to minister to people in the future, even though we don't have any clue that's happening at the time. So if you've gone through a similar loss, sharing your story a lot of times can offer hope and connection. However, be mindful of not overshadowing their grief with your own. I'll give you a really quick example. When my wife Dawn was in college, her father was killed in a very devastating, unexpected auto accident. And the grief that she experienced during that time as a college student was immense. It was life-changing. But you know what? There's been many opportunities that she has had to minister to other people that have lost parents, that have lost loved ones unexpectedly, in a way that maybe nobody else could, because she's been through that and she was able to share her own experience. Not to make it about her situation, but those people knew that she somehow had been through this before and she felt some of the same feelings they were feeling, and it was very helpful to them. Okay, 2 more really quick points. Of course, we want to point them to Jesus, even in their grief, remind them of God's love and His comfort and presence, even in the midst of their pain. And this is the pastoral part of things. Offer scripture verses that speak to their situation. Pray with them, absolutely. Pray for strength and for healing, and care for them spiritually. But lastly, care for yourself as well. Leading through loss, it can be absolutely emotionally draining. And make sure that you get enough rest and exercise and support from your own network of friends and family. Ministering to those that are grieving is a tough thing to do, and it takes a lot out of you. So remember, as church leaders, we're not called to have all the answers. We're not called even to fix everybody's problems. Our role, though, is to walk alongside those who are hurting, to offer compassion, and to offer some guidance and some hope. So here's the bottom line. Leading through loss is a sacred calling, and it's an opportunity to demonstrate the love of Christ in the midst of darkness, in the midst of grief, and to point others to the source of the true comfort and healing. Now, if you're a church leader navigating a season of grief yourself, whether it's personal, within your church, I'd encourage you to reach out for support. It doesn't have to be me, but if you'd like to reach out to me, you don't have to walk this road alone. I'm here for you. And so is our community of church leaders. So feel free to email me your story, podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. I'd be happy to talk with you. If you need any help or coaching as well, I'm available to do that on an ongoing basis. If your church is looking for a new staff member, absolutely reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you and tell you how chemistry might be able to help you with that. But you can reach out to me anytime, podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. Very good. I know this was kind of a downer subject today, dealing with grief, but it's a vital part of what we do. And I'm praying for you as you have those opportunities that God puts in your life and your ministry, as you minister to those that need you and need Jesus just at an incredibly important time in their lives and in their journey. Join us back here tomorrow on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. We're here every day, Monday through Friday.